Hello, everybody. I'm Kurt Lidke, Executive Director of Klamath Film. Thank you for joining us on this fantastic Saturday where we are celebrating all day the film Phoenix, Oregon. Shot in Klamath Falls in 2018. In 2020, it became the #1 film in America, and today we're celebrating its addition to the historic Oregon Film Trail. With us now is the director, Gary Lundgren, and the producers of the film, Annie Lundgren, Ben and Kim Piper, and Ryan Niemi. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us, first of all.
Hey, thank you
Thanks,
for
Kurt.
having us on.
So, the historic Oregon Film Trail, let's talk about this first. We just unveiled the marker a minute ago. This is the 33rd film to be honored on this program, which recognizes films of historic significance that were shot in the state of Oregon. Now, there are a couple of these markers in Ashland where Gary and Annie reside, but this is only the third one in all of Southern Oregon. Almost all the markers are in Portland or along the Oregon coast, and it's the iconic films, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Goonies, Animal House, and then Phoenix, Oregon is also being recognized for its history. What does that mean to all of you?
It's a huge honor. So we really are grateful to the Oregon Film Office and Klamath Falls for having us there, and the team that chose us to be on the Oregon Trail, and to you also, Kurt, and your organization for all the work that you've put into making this happen.
Well, it's pretty amazing because we never expected it to happen. We met Annie and Gary at the film festival, Klamath Independent Film Festival, years ago, and who would ever expect that we would actually make a film together and then it would be on this historic, commemorated that way. We owned the building on Main Street where the kitchen of the restaurant was, and we don't own that building anymore, and we don't even live in Klamath Falls anymore. So it's kind of just a wonderful time capsule piece for all of us, and we're extras in the film, and it's just a wonderful memory.
And then Ryan gets to see this marker every day because it's about 3 blocks away from his office. So...
that assumes they ever go to the office, though. Yeah, it is. It's really exciting for Phoenix, Oregon to be recognized. Then filmmaking Klamath Falls is kind of on the up and up, and it's kind of nice for Klamath Falls to get a little more visibility. And I'd like to thank you, Kurt, and Klamath Film for making this happen.
Well, let's get into the origins of how this film came about. First of all, Gary, give us some background on how the script came about, how you came up with the story idea, and then how Ben and Kim and Ryan all got involved in it.
I had this script kicking around for a while, and it felt like the right one creatively for me anyway, just to tell sort of a mid-life crisis. Black Road, Black Road was kind of experimental, darker film, kind of a noir film, and so I just felt like in my heart I needed to do something more human and more something that would make you laugh, and make you think a little bit about the human condition. And I think once we kind of got clear that we were going to make this bowling alley story, and Phoenix, it was going to be very difficult to shoot in Phoenix for a variety of reasons. We wouldn't have been able to close the bowling alley down. So for a while there, we were thinking, well, do we change it to billiards, or do we just throw the bowling out and make it just a restaurant food movie, so that came into play. But luckily Barry and Ryan and Ben and Kim had locations there in Klamath Falls that are pretty hard to, they pretty much made the film happen. The fact that those locations were there and we could pull it off there in Klamath Falls. Also, Klamath was so wonderful in terms of just wanting us there. A lot of times you film in a town, they don't want you there. Even LA, I had an experience of film in LA just a few weeks ago, and it's just a much different conversation. If you say you're filming, people almost look down on you there, you know. So it was a different experience than in Klamath, where it was exciting, you know, to shoot at the Daily Bagel and shoot at Hanscom's Bowling Alley.
So Ben and Kim and Ryan, all three of you at the time were living in Klamath and attending our film festival, the Klamath Independent Film Festival, and you ran into Gary and Annie when they were showing their film Black Road. What made you compelled to say, let's make a movie together?
Go ahead, Ryan. I think he's got some of your bio wrong there.
Oh yeah, I met the Lundgrens during the tail end of post production on Black Road. They were in the final stages of editing and visual effects, and I ran into Gary because a film I was exhibiting at a festival up in Eugene was also showing a film that Gary had edited, and I met Gary that way. And you know, I mentioned to Gary, if I had known about Black Road earlier, I would have liked to have been involved, and ended up involved in some of the post production and visual effects and compositing. And mentioned to Gary, you know, if you guys shoot another film in the area, let me know, and maybe I'd like to become involved as a producer.
It's kind of what I think Kim mentioned here earlier. We were at the film festival there. I don't know what year that was, 2018 maybe. And then they showed Black Road. You guys showed Black Road when Jesse was running things, and I was just stunned at the time at the budget that they quoted for what it cost to make that movie. It was a 90-minute film, and I think it came in around 100,000, or I can't remember. But anyway, it wasn't very much, and so I had a lot of questions for him, and we just ended up having a conversation that I guess had legs, and we kept on talking.
So did you know what you were getting into at the time in the process of filmmaking? It
Well,
is the
yeah,
most
I
expensive
didn't
form of
really-
artwork imaginable.
yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, that's certainly the sad part of this, is that the film has had a lot of notoriety and stuff, but in terms of economics, it's been pretty much a worst case scenario, except maybe someone dying. You know, that's probably the only thing that would have been worse. You know, it's you know, so there's some you know, it's great to be the #1 film, but it's also, I think, the same weekend we were the lowest grossing film of all time too, or something like that. So, you know,
And I've told Ryan you need to make a trophy or something that says that, a little plaque.
yeah. Well, you know, if there's any money devoted to trophies, just send it to Annie. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, it's kind of a. But no, I knew, you know, I some things happened that prevented me from being a lot more involved in the production that the month they were in Klamath, work related and personal related. It was just to be involved and with people that we thought had integrity, and see what the industry was like. It's something that when I was younger, I did a lot of writing, and I've always had a lot of curiosity about and passion for, and so it was a good experience, an educational one. So.
Well, and since you mentioned it, we should delve into just how an independent film shot in Klamath Falls, Oregon, of all places, ended up being the #1 film in America. Because most people think of the film production as once you wrap and you've finished editing, the movie process is done. But really, that's just the beginning. You, to get a film distributed is a whole other ordeal, and you went through an extraordinary journey to get it out the door. And when you finally did, the fluke timing to release a film the same week that every theater in the country is forced to shut down due to a global pandemic, it's astronomical, the odds on that happening. And yet, you know, now as a result of that, we see all these major films when they come out in theaters, whatever theaters are open, they're also doing a simultaneous, you know, on-demand release, which you did, But a year ago, no one was doing that, or almost no one was doing that. Yet you somehow had the foresight to do that, which by default made Phoenix, Oregon the #1 film in America, because it was the only film in America that qualified for domestic box office. So what made you want to do that online release? I mean, in hindsight, that's a genius move. You were a year ahead of everyone.
Well, I guess I wish it was a little more genius where it would have maybe paid off. I think it had a lot to do with the year before we went to visit a lot of these, and so we knew that we were in it with them. They were all shutting their doors, and we knew that they were already struggling. And for us, like you said, we had put all this effort into planning a theatrical release, and a couple weeks before, we realized that was the weekend when all the theaters were going to be closing, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And by then, because we wanted to be safe and set a good example, we decided we wouldn't screen in theaters and that we would move online. So we had to get permission from all the theaters and tell them that we would split the profits with them, because we wanted to help support them and we wanted to still have a chance to get the movie out there. And so we were able to pivot really fast just because we were a small team. And, a lot of the other theaters did it, but, it was a few weeks later or a month later that they came around and started doing that as well. And the funny thing is that we were a little bit determined and stubborn, because we went ahead and released our numbers. And, we got an email back from the box office folks. They're like, what are these? And you couldn't have had these numbers. And I was like, yeah, we did. It was with the virtual, and these are real numbers. And so it ended up that everybody started reporting their numbers like that. But for a little while, it was a kind of touch and go. They actually took the numbers down for a week and then put them back.
You're now a footnote in history. It may carry a small asterisk with it, or the little trophy, but it's still, I mean, as independent filmmakers, you can dream of maybe someday having the #1 film in America. How, regardless of the weird circumstances that led to it earning that title, I mean, that's a pretty cool feather to put in your hat as a filmmaker, to say, yeah, I made the #1 movie in America. Hire me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool, but there's a big asterisk with it. So, but it is cool. Yeah.
Let's also talk a little bit about how you got this film distributed, because that ties in well. So tell us all about the RV road trip that's led to the film being distributed in the first place.
Idea, and it was another brilliant idea. The whole RV, the wrapped RVs. I wish we had some pictures to show right now of that. But yeah, what a trip, you guys. I mean, we were all, let's see, Ben and I and our 2 kids, and Flannery and Annie and Gary and Louie, all in these 2 RVs touring. We toured the whole country, doing the Q&As after the screenings. And I was booking theaters still after we had started. And it was pretty amazing. I mean, there were I think what you said, Annie, about the theaters, like developing that bond with the theaters, that was a real highlight, and the audiences, and just seeing how people loved the film. Oh, there
Ryan's got a photo. That is the RV.
Unfortunately, because it was such a novel idea, and it was kind of something that came about fairly spontaneous, it wasn't all that successful. It's not something that I would, if someone made an independent film and they were like, well, how should we release it? Oh, get RVs, wrap them, and tour the country. It's like, nah, maybe, but you would want to sit Annie down and Kim and really like pick their brains on what they did right and what they did wrong, and do it over again, because there wasn't real momentum from that into wider screenings and wider audience activation. How many miles, Gary?
Yeah,
like
too many.
a lot. 5,000.
Yeah.
More than that.
So the development of this film, what advantages and disadvantages came with filming in Klamath Falls? Since Klamath doesn't have a soundstage, I know that you used Ryan's warehouse became a pseudo soundstage, but what were some other advantages and disadvantages that came with choosing this as a locale to shoot your film?
You know, when you make a film, you're going into the community. You know, you're not hiding on a soundstage in a gated, you know, studio like in LA. You're out there on the streets and in the restaurants and just, you know, shooting on the corner, shooting in the town with people, and I think with extras. So I think the big advantage was that Klamath wanted us there. Like I think that's the best way to put it. I would say affordable locations. The price was right, you know. Otherwise, we couldn't have made the film for this budget, you know. I think the disadvantages probably are, you know, when you're on a soundstage, you can build your set. Poor Ryan had to, you know, deal with the trailer being built. Yeah, yeah. At first, it was gonna be. I think I remember telling Ryan, "Yeah, it'll be like a quarter of your warehouse," you know, and I believed it at the time. I really did. I thought we only need a fourth of this warehouse, you know. But it just kind of grew and exploded, and before you know it, we were, you know, Ryan was in the back office, you know, and we had taken over everything there for a couple weeks. So I think
Yeah,
I think
pretty much
that's
everything ended up staged over there. We had the scene shop. We had some sets built over there. The camera department had all their stuff over there, and
right.
Yeah,
it's
there
pretty
was
much a entire
cars.
warehouse by the time we're done.
Ryan, we might as well just turn your warehouse into a soundstage for Klamath Falls at this point, right?
That's partially what it's there for.
I think it's a time and place kind of film. You know, I like the juxtaposition of Phoenix and Oregon, like that these characters are sort of not in the right place in their lives. And Phoenix should be in Arizona, but it's in Oregon. So it made sense to me, you know. I've always loved the film Paris, Texas, which I talked about many times. And I think it just became sort of another one of those time and place kinds of titles that made sense.
We need to talk about the cast as well. An extraordinary group of actors. And Gary and Annie, we've talked about this previously. All of your films seem to have a theme between Calvin Marshall, Black Road, and Phoenix, Oregon. They never have like the superstar A-list, you know, blockbuster name that goes up in lights, but they're packed full of the actors of, oh, that's that guy who was in that thing. You know, you may not immediately recognize the name, but you damn sure know the face. And it's not just one; it's your entire cast. If anyone goes on to IMDb and looks up the names of Lisa or James or Jesse, it's going to be a mile long. So how do you assemble these fantastic actors? You know, like you had Steve Zahn in Calvin Marshall, Tom Skerritt in Black Road. How do you manage to get these actors who have done a million things to work on independent projects?
Well, we met after we filmed our short film Wound Flutter. We took that to LA and we were working to get our next film made, Calvin Marshall. And we met a lot of different casting directors down there, and we met this wonderful woman named Christine Steeks, and we worked with her since Calvin Marshall. She really loved that script, and so she came on and helped us out with that one. And she has so many connections in the industry, and we've just worked with her ever since. And so we never have had a lot of money on the films necessarily to get the huge A-list actors, but she's always able to assemble a cast of actors who really, you know, like, they usually have to really like the script and the role that they're playing.
Casting, you know, I think Spielberg said casting 70% of it, and I think that's pretty accurate. So if you get the casting right, my job and Annie's job really is just to create a set where they can really perform and feel comfortable and feel free and creative and excited to play the part. I think that's most of our job. And sure, I give direction, little bits of help, try to be their mirror, get them to trust me. But really, it is them. It's them fleshing out the script we wrote. So I can't say enough about casting good actors. Like it's really thing is get a cast that people are going to want to watch, and I think getting James, because I had worked with James before and Diedrich before. I literally could text those two, and this doesn't happen with every actor that I've worked with before, where you have to go through their agent. But I was sort of on a more of a personal basis with those two actors, so I could text them and send them the script, not go through their agent or our casting director. And once James and Diedrich were on board, they were like magnets, That's how you get Jesse Borrego and the rest of the cast. Is it sort of just gives the project some credibility.
So Ryan, Ben, and Kim, what did you think of the cast and getting to work with all of these fantastic actors?
It was so much fun. All to say. I mean, they're really professional, and I've never really been around great actors like that before. They can just light up a set. I mean, they just made that script come alive, and just with their own kind of inflections, their own charisma, and the way they would they worked really hard too. So many takes, and just doing lines over and over again. It was kind of magical, and it was amazing too to watch Gary and Annie just work with them. Like, there's the script, and it's all, but we shot it in pieces, of course. Like, cause okay, well, Diedrich's coming in, so now we're gonna shoot these scenes, or Ray's coming in, we're gonna shoot these, and it all just, really enjoy in a lot of scenes. Once we were doing those kinds of group scenes, and I just enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, Gary and Andy put together a really great cast on this film, and uh, working with them when the cameras weren't rolling, they were really great people to hang out with and talk about the industry and a lot of other things too. They're actual real people when the cameras aren't rolling, and they were kind of really great to hang out with. We had lots of pizza in the after hours and lots of long chats.
I don't know. We had like 73 setups in the trailer.
And they were all out of order too.
Yeah, so it was a really long day, like a 16, 17-hour day. But the port art department was up all night for 3 or 4 days in a row, just getting it ready for that day. So that was the most stressful piece. That's the story that we always tell still, just because it was such an adventure getting that trailer to work, and it looks awesome on film. You would never know that it was a set, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I told so many people, friends of mine that watched this movie, and not a single one ever had any clue that wasn't an honest to goodness Airstream trailer that we were inside of, and I would explain to them what was done, and they would just be absolutely floored. And yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
It worked out really well for the shooting, because we could pull, it was built so we could pull the sides apart, and then the camera could get behind the counter there. We wouldn't have been able to get those shots if we were actually in the trailer.
Yeah, one thing I'd say right there is that Gary and Annie have accumulated a crew of real loyal crew, in a sense, of people that like working with them, the camera and the director of photography, and a lot of these people had worked together before, and so there was a lot of rapport on the set, and it's one of the things I think that allowed the shoot to go off relatively blooper free was that people were aware of the budget at hand, number one, but they're also were sincere. I heard over and over again. I'm not just blowing smoke from these people how much they really liked Gary and Annie. It was worth it to them to work on their movie. A lot of these people spend their careers working on commercials or whatever, and they're just hoping to be a part of something that to the spirit of camaraderie there that you can't buy into that. There's no way. It has to be there.
We had Kevin Corrigan and Diedrich Bader, in particular, super funny. So I mean, just themselves, they're like blooper. Just like Kevin Corrigan in particular. My gosh, so funny in that role. Just one, and doing different takes and having him try different interpretations of the script. It was really funny.
But can you explain how you use this film to do some good for the community?
Yeah, yeah, I am really proud of that for our efforts and our team's efforts last year. Starting with what we did in March, splitting the revenues with theaters. I mean, if we were in theaters, we would have split. That would have been the natural split anyways. We would have split it, but we just made a real effort to bring the theaters on board with us for the streaming platform. And then we were also able to do that with festivals. So we had a big event with film festivals across the country, and we split revenues with them. And then we did it again with restaurants. And so in Oregon, we were able to split revenues with restaurants. So I think when we had been on tour, we really realized that, like Ben was saying, when we did really well, it was when we showed up at a theater and they had a real loyal following with their audiences and in their organization. And then we would have a really successful screening. So we took that idea of collaboration with organizations into the release, and we shared audiences and shared revenues with these organizations. And that's usually when we did the best with our screenings. And so we just continued that all last year. And, it was a really difficult year. The release did not go like we wanted it to, but we were able to partner with people and build relationships. And everybody was able to make a little bit of money that we wouldn't have made otherwise. Both us and the festivals and theaters, everybody was having a pretty hard time last year. And then, the fires hit, and it was devastating because the town that we have so much, love for, and our other producer, Louis, who's a cast member, he'll be on the other streaming piece of this. He lives in Phoenix, and his family lives there, and so his family lost homes, my family lost homes, a lot of people in our community, friends have lost homes, and it was devastating, and it still is. So we were able to kind of re-release the film again, and then we made a special T-shirt and allowed people to purchase the film streaming, and we gave the proceeds to fire survivors. So it was a nice thing to be able to do during a really hard year. And so it's still going on. Our distributors are still working on some film. It is out there on all digital platforms now, and there's still some more deals that they're working on. The whole industry was stalled last year, and we still don't really know. I don't know, maybe we'll have another mini life to the film, but it's to be seen. So,
well, and for those efforts, you earned the I think it was called the Networking for Good, or what was the name of the award that you got from OMPA?
It was called Commitment to Good.
Commitment to Good. So for that charity work, your film received special recognition from OMPA. That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see it.
Well, I think it's getting close time for us to watch the film at the Ross Wright Raglan Theater. So I want to give everyone an opportunity to provide their final thoughts, reflecting back on this film that has now been the #1 movie in America, added to the historic Oregon Film Trail, and receiving the Commitment to Good Award for charity work. So Ryan, why don't we start with you? Your final thoughts of being a part of this incredible project?
Yeah, it was a really great film to be involved with, and Gary and Annie are great to work with. Also, Ben and Kim, you guys are great to work with too. It was a real pleasure to work on this film with you guys, and I hope to work on some more with you again. And I just want to share one final photo of the real stars of the film, the fish.
We still have some of it here.
Oh, it's so funny.
Thank you, Ryan. And Ben and Kim, your final thoughts on being a part of a film that has garnered so many accolades.
Oh, I think that I learned a lot, and there's of course things I would do differently if I were to do it over again. And I appreciated working with everyone that I worked with. The process itself was really kind of invented day to day, and that was a fun thing to be a part of so closely. And it's nothing if it's one thing to be an actor in a movie. You're being paid to show up and act, or you're volunteering, and it's nothing to fund the movie. So it's very different points of view, and it's complicated. So, yeah, I'm glad the film got made, and I'm glad it's so well received in Klamath Falls. It's a worthwhile project.
So, Annie and Gary, I will give you two the final word. Anything that you would like to say to the audience before they get a chance to see Phoenix, Oregon?
I think a lot of the audience is going to be from Klamath Falls, and we really did love making the movie there. So thanks to everybody who came out and supported us throughout the process, from the location owners to Barry and his team, and all the bowlers who allowed us to take over their space for a couple weeks. And thanks for everything, and thanks to this team, Ryan and Ben and Kim, and all of our producers and crew.
Yeah, I guess I would say, it's hard to, we know everything about the film and the making of it, all the ups and downs. So it's always a bittersweet feeling, I think it's over, we made it, and there it is, and you can watch it, and hope you love it, and hope that a lot of people continue to see it, and that the money keeps trickling in, to pay for indies like these, but I'm grateful that we did it. I think life is one of those things where if you're, not everything goes to plan, with anything. And in fact, COVID came along, was a big obstacle for everybody. And I think, no one wanted the fires to happen either. And they did. And I think, part of any endeavor is just being resilient. And I think this movie has those legs, This movie still moves people. They're still emotional. I just got an email yesterday from someone who saw it and sent me this really nice email about how much the movie meant to them. And so it still has a life right now, which is one of the exciting things about making movies.
Mm-hmm.